How important now do these events today, in context of everything else that's going on, the virus, the election looming, these tech earnings?
Critical. As you said, I think that investors want to be in equities. We want to be in equities going into 2021. We've talked about the tailwinds of monetary and fiscal stimulus. Maybe we need more fiscal stimulus. That's fine. We'll get some now. We'll get some in infrastructure next year. But investors want to be in equities. Bonds are unattractive. They're not earning anything. And so in order to stay invested in equities, the safest place over the last 6 months has been in big tech, and that's why we've seen the gains. And so if you start to take away that option for investors this week, if we get some disappointing earnings, and I don't even want to get started on the cloud because I think we're going to talk about that, but if we get some disappointing earnings, that's going to create even more concern that investors are going to see no place to go, no real alternative for them during this uncertainty. That's going to go to cash. We could see some flows into treasuries. But for most clients, what they're earning in bonds is not going to make the gains that they need into next year. It's not going to pay for their income. And so I think that this is an important time as an advisor to make sure your clients understand where their allocation is, make sure it's balanced appropriately. But this is important to keep people in the market into next year, which we anticipate will be a much better year for equity investors.
Joe, I mean, look, you've got tomorrow, you've got Microsoft and AMD. Thursday, Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, Facebook, and Twitter. I wonder if you can make a case that the most important earnings report of the week may be AMD because of the way that stock has performed. I know people think that might be crazy, but I'd be surprised if these other big mega caps didn't do well. But given how much AMD has gone up and how much it's separated itself from Intel, you cannot have a bad report or a disappointment in any way from AMD.
I don't disagree with that, but I think the stock that will matter most this week is the one that's able to reverse the trend, which has been strong earnings performance, but yet poor price performance subsequent to that report. Which stock is actually going to come out and have the type of post-earnings response like we witnessed in July? Will it be a Microsoft that'll post a strong quarter and rally subsequent to that? I think that's what's incredibly important right now when looking at the market. And I think it also underscores collectively that you should not be moving away from these growth stocks into these value stocks. S&P value is still below its June high. If there was some form of this economic burgeoning on the virus dissipating, a vaccine coming, why wouldn't financials, why wouldn't energy, why wouldn't airlines rally? It's been all about industrials. That's the reason that it's going higher. And I would offer, Scott, if there is weakness this week,
why wouldn't they? I mean, I gave you the airline note from Bespoke, right? I mean, there's a reason why the airlines aren't going to rally, and that's because there's just not enough demand.
Well, 1 week ago today, we were talking about airlines having the single biggest capacity day with, I think there was a million
people passed through TSA. Okay, well, that's great.
And we got very excited about that, myself included, and we've trended down ever since. So I understand that. There's no evidence to suggest that there is any form of an economic recovery that you could invest around right now.
So Jim Lebenthal, maybe I should have addressed this question to you in my comment that, you know, I'd be surprised if the big dogs in the earnings reports this week disappointed. You're expecting them to disappoint?
No, I'm not sure how you got that at all. I'm not sure if the morning
I'm looking at the notes here. It says,
no,
Jim,
look,
he owns Microsoft, he owns Apple, he owns Alphabet. Quote, I'm expecting these stocks to disappoint.
Nope, that's not accurate. So obviously there was a miscommunication there. I own those stocks. I'm perfectly comfortable with them. Let me be more specific, though, to your question. You know, there is a difference between those names and AMD. You're talking about stocks that have forward multiples around 30. AMD, NVIDIA, those guys, they have forward multiples around 60, 70. So, yeah, there is some risk in AMD. Just like there's been risk in those software stocks that trade at, you know, those same numbers but multiples of sales. So I'm not expecting anything bad from the big tech. I think they're appropriately priced for this interest rate.